Hey, it's Malachi James. Welcome back to the Tactical Den podcast. This video is going to be talking about my helmet setup. I did one in the past with Daniel. Him and I went over what we both run, a little bit of why, the pros and cons to ballistic versus bump helmet, and we also talked about our night vision setups. For this video specifically, I want to be talking about my helmet, why I run it, how it came to be what it is, and just the overall setup, right? A little bit more in depth than the last video, and some things changed on it since then. Not much, but just a few things, okay? So right now, currently, I'm still rocking the Z-Tac Comtac 2 clones. These are going to be going out here pretty soon, and I'm about to throw some Bifrost Comtac clones on here instead, because I've heard really good things about those, and I want to just upgrade the whole comm setup in general. The connector right here is a civilian connector. It's not a mill connector, and I want the ability to have that mill connector. So that's another reason why I'm going to be going to the Bifrost gear Comtac clones as opposed to these. These have worked just fine. They're not bad at all. If you don't want to spend the $200 to get the Bifrost ones, these are great. $100, and they're nice Comtac clones, so they work really well. So I like these a lot. So between that, obviously you can see I have my strobe, easy Velcro, easy on, easy off. Turn it on. I've got green and the white, and then the IR. So that's really good strobe here, and I run that on the back of the helmet. I run my cables here through the back of my strap, and the rails that I have on here are not full arc rails. They're actually knockoff arc rails that I chopped. So if you look at now the front of the helmet here, I've got my Rhino 2 mount on my, I believe this is the Revisions Gavilon Viper rail system, I think it is. And you can see here that this whole thing comes around, and the arc rails are supposed to connect, right? Those arc rails are $100, right? So if I were to buy that, I'd have to get the right size, they'd have to come through, and then I'd have the whole rail system. I wanted that. That's what I wanted to do, but I didn't think it was worth $100 to spend on that piece of plastic. So what I did was I bought some cheaper ones, and I chopped them off right here, and then I screwed them in place here, and then I epoxied them in place. So it works really well. I've got no wobble on here at all, and it works just fine, and it does what I need them to do. I don't like the ear pro that sits up here as much as I like the amp arms. So I run amp arms, and the Bifrost ones have amp arms, so that's what I'll be running there as well. The night vision, as I said, is the mount is the Rhino 2 mount. This little retainer band here I made myself. I bought a bunch of these clips, and I used this little piece of bungee that I screwed underneath the back of the shroud here. So that just clips into my night vision, and it holds it in place whenever I have my monocular on. Little IR patch here on the side that I can take off or remove if I want. This is just a really old patch that I've had forever. One of the first patches that I ever got. So I still run it on this helmet because I like it. And then the M81 helmet cover that I got. I think it's like a one Tigris helmet cover. Not the greatest, but it's M81, and we like M81, right? So we can flip this over now. We start talking about the internals here of the helmet itself. So as you probably know, the helmet system itself is a ACH helmet that I personally cut. And the way that I did that, and I'll kind of go over that a little bit with you guys, is I took obviously an ACH. I bought the blades for a jigsaw, and it was a diamond tipped, I believe, really fine jigsaw. and it's got to be fine, right? It can't like be like these really big can't be these really big teeth, because you will start chopping up your Kevlar and it'll just be a mess. So get a really fine tooth one, and that way when you're going through, you're not chopping everything up. And then you're gonna mark the ears where you want to cut, on how high you want it, and then you're gonna just take a vise, put it down, and then you're going to cut those ears off using that jigsaw, right? Make sure you're using all your proper PPE and stuff. And then once that's done, you're going to take some epoxy, and you're going to epoxy the cut area, the whole cut area, with some epoxy resin. You're just going to resin that down. Some people use JB Marine Weld and stuff like that. You can use that. I just had a crap ton of resin, so I just used some epoxy resin there just to kind of seal it off, and I just covered the whole thing, rubbed it in with gloves and stuff. And then after that, I took some Flex Seal, and then I Flex Sealed it. You can see I'm kind of playing with it and pushing some of it down, because some of it does come up over time. It's not the nicest looking, but it works really well. It seals everything off. There's no way that these layers are separating ever. So yeah, just go through and then cut out some pieces, and you can find a lot of videos on the internet about how people do it, but that's just how I happen to do it. Very similar to the way they did. But after that, you go in, you put your retention system back in, you put your pads in, and that's how I did that. And this retention system and these pads are not the same pads that were in the helmet when I did that. So those ones I gutted, and then I tossed them. I have them still, but I tossed them in the helmet. And the reason why I took them out of the helmet is because originally, the original retention system that I had was the one that came in the helmet. And it's one of these mesh ones, right? And the reason why I took this out is not because it's, broken or anything like that. Like it doesn't work or anything like that. But it's just some of these screws are so old that they're stuck in it. And these would stick out and they'd hit you in the back of the head. Not only that, but the actual part here that bends was cracking on this side. So it still worked. It wasn't like, totally broken or anything like that, but just a lot of hassle for what it was. And I didn't want to have to keep dealing with it. So what I did was I went and I bought an FMA retention system, Team Wendy clone, and I threw that in. And I took some old ACH and some of the hard-headed veterans pads, and I put those in. It works really well. The FMA holds retention pretty well. I haven't tested it thoroughly quite yet because it's actually pretty brand new, this whole setup that I was able to get done. I just bought all the parts and stuff like that to get everything kind of situated in here. So I haven't been able to fully test this out yet. I think it's going to be good. I've heard a lot of good things about it. It feels good, feels comfortable, and it definitely does tighten to your head really well with this retention that they have here. It works really well. How long it's going to hold, I don't know. I haven't been able to fully test it yet. But, what's an extra... And like another $70 to maybe get like another Bifrost gear, or maybe like an older Ops Core one. It shouldn't be too bad. But for $30, man, these FMAs, they feel great. They're fine. The material's a little thinner than your Team Wendy and stuff like that. But other than that, it holds it in place really good. And I mean, I also wear the Comtacs too. So there's a lot of stuff that's keeping the helmet on my head, not just this retention system. So I don't mind it. But like I said, the old ACH pads are still in here. And then some of the hard-headed veterans pads are in there as well. And it feels really good. It's a little heavier than it used to be just because of, the actual padding. I mean, this is light. Like, this is super light. And so when I took that out and I put in the pads, it made things a little bit heavier. But it's not horrible. It feels really good. And it's a ballistic helmet, like a good ballistic helmet. It's not like one of the cheaper Chinesium helmets and stuff like that. This is a good ballistic helmet, and I don't need to go spend like a shit ton of money based off of just, I want ballistic protection. This is good. I'm not going to have horrible back face deformation, and it's American made, and it's a really good helmet.